The Hornets lose a heartbreaker on a career night for LaMelo Ball, but can we take away a moral victory? Let's get into it right now on Locked On Hornets.
You are Locked On Hornets, your daily Charlotte Hornets podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
In a minute, cuz we live.
It's Locked On Hornets. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, local experts on the #1 daily sports podcast network. Thanks for making Locked On Hornets your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. You can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get them. Also, check us out on YouTube. We're there right now. Check us out, Locked On Hornets. Very simple. Seeing a big-time increase in our subscribers and our views, and we very much appreciate that. So get in on the action and go check us out on YouTube. You can follow us on Twitter as well. I'm on Twitter at WalkerMail. Doug's on Twitter at DougBransonLOH. The show handle's on Twitter at Locked On Hornets. Also, this episode is brought to you by Shopify, the all-in-one commerce platform to start, run, and grow your business. Scaling your business is a journey of endless possibility. So start now at shopify.com/LockedOn By the way, that's all lowercase. Right now, I'm in an environment where there's a possibility there are going to be some dogs barking, and I just got a new puppy, and I got him a collar where it's a little bit jangly, and I've been hearing jangling all over the house. I don't know what he's getting into. He's probably getting into something, peeing on the carpet, probably chewing something he's not supposed to be. So that is going to be something that is a distraction for me. I'm going to try to focus as much as I can, though, to give you a little walkie-talk.
Oh, a little walkie-talkie. Mm-hmm. I like that. Let's do some walkie-talkie because that was a pretty crazy game. Can't wait to get into it. Just want to mention, by the way, thanks to Isaac on Twitter, who tweeted out his Spotify Wrapped, has listened to 169 episodes, and he's only been listening since March. That's crazy. Thanks, Isaac. Appreciate it. I haven't even listened to 169 episodes, and I do the show.
You haven't? I mean, have
I'm
I
not
even
listening
done
right now.
Have I even done 169 episodes? I'm not even sure if I've been participating in that many. Look, real quickly, we do appreciate that. Seeing multiple features from us on your Spotify Wrapped. I mean, we saw, I don't know, a handful of something like that. Shout out to Amanda. Shout out to Michael Gallucci. You guys are the best. We really do very much appreciate being a part of your listen, borderline every day, actually daily if you want to listen to us as much as Isaac and find the time to do that. But we really do appreciate you listening to us as frequently as everyone did. And boy, do we got a good one to talk about last night. That game was so much fun. And it always hurts a little when you lose a fun game because that's a memory that sticks with you. You know, we're going to remember this game at the end of the season, in part because it was your superstar's career night. You could argue maybe that it was the best game ever we've seen from LaMelo. He certainly got a couple of career highs for you, right? I mean, if you're just talking about the counting stats, career high in points, scoring 36 against Milwaukee, scored 8 3-pointers. That's also a career high from beyond the arc. Gave you 9 assists too, 7 turnovers. So maybe that would be something you hold against him in the best game he's ever played category. But LaMelo also clutch time 3-pointer made, and that's where we'll start today. 5 seconds left. LaMelo gets the inbounds pass, rolling to his left. Pat Connaughton draped all over him. 125, 122. So you need a 3, drains it. LaMelo gets the fist pump, the chest bump going in there, and only to be spoiled by a Giannis freight train down the lane type of layup where PJ Washington just can't do anything with it. Who can? But at least LaMelo gave you that clutch 3-point shot. Doug, I know you and David talked about that in the episode I was out, trying to get some clutch stats on LaMelo Ball. He gave you a pretty nice shot last night.
Well, listen, I wasn't doubting LaMelo when I was talking about it. I was just sharing the stats and saying I'm waiting for this is what I was waiting for. I was amazed. I was astounded. I know he has the clutch gene. I know he has it in him. He just hasn't unleashed it quite yet this season, and I really didn't understand why to this point that hadn't happened, and now it finally did happen. LaMelo Ball it wasn't just about the 3-point shot. I mean, he really took over that second half. I believe 24 points in the second half, 16 of those in the fourth quarter. He was 4 of 5 from 3 in that fourth quarter. I think you did mention 8 3-pointers made. That was a career high. So, I mean, just so much to be happy about with LaMelo Ball in this game. I don't really care about the turnovers in this one because he was just making plays all over the floor. And if he's going to go into like take over offensive mode, that's going to eclipse whatever damage he was doing turnover wise. I really want to start making a running list of what makes LaMelo Ball special so that we don't get into year 7 of his career and just like take it all for granted, because we've just seen so much already in 1 and a quarter, maybe 1.5 seasons. I'm floored by what I saw last night.
And he's such a fun basketball player. And the turnovers, I'm with you. I mean, he had the bad one where he tries to kick it out, and then I believe it leads to a Grayson Allen transition bucket. But when you hit 8 3-pointers, when you score 36, when you're still dishing 9 assists, and you're taking chances, I mean, it's just something, if you really wanted to say this is why it's not his best game, maybe a couple of other things, that's fine. But LaMelo gave us something really special last night, and it's unfortunate that it was spoiled by that Giannis layup, but this is the NBA champion from last year that we're talking about. This is the finals MVP. This is somebody that I think took a step up in the pantheon of basketball lore with his finals performance last year and really entered all-time great type discussion. I was listening to, I can't remember if it was Bill Simmons or Zach Lowe, whoever it was, in one of their podcasts, but they were just flat out talking about Giannis. Is he just the best big guy in the NBA? Is Giannis just, even when we don't think about him as a typical 5, because he is handling the basketball so much. I mean, Mike Budenholzer runs him at point. That's how he got 9 assists last night. Like, is he still just the best big guy? Because PJ can't do anything with him. Like, there's just nothing. I felt so bad because PJ got cooked, but it's also like, what do you do with Giannis down low, especially as a small ball 5? What a fun superstar battle. You talked about how, like, it's kind of been that narrative coming into some of these games. It's been more so like point guard against point guard, Trae Young versus LaMelo and things like that. Maybe even like a Kemba against LaMelo in some aspects, even though Kemba's not there anymore. We get that aspect. But we got a good star versus star battle last night between Giannis and LaMelo Ball.
It was, and it ended with a jersey swap.
Yeah,
so
awesome.
There's respect. I don't know how people feel about the jersey swap these days. Is it corny? Is it cool? I think LaMelo and Giannis, they didn't do like a photo op. They just took the jerseys and they swapped the jerseys and walked away. So I didn't think it was too corny. I didn't think it was too staged. Those two dudes feel genuine. It was just like game recognizing game. There was a respect level there. So look, if you're going to lose a game, best to lose it to one of the best players in the league and have that best player go to your best player and say, hey, dude, what you did tonight, even in a loss, was amazing. Let's swap jerseys. I think that's pretty special. On the Giannis point, no, the Hornets could not stop him down low. I thought they did an okay job trying to limit his transition points. Look, he put up a 40-piece. But at the same time, he turned the ball over 6 times. So I want to credit the defense in this game for at least turning him over and making, keeping it from being a 50 burger. It was just a 40 piece and not a 50 burger. So I thought the defense stepped up. I thought there was some physicality that they haven't shown in a couple of games, but love the LaMelo jersey swap. I thought it was cool. I didn't think it was corny.
No, I don't think so at all either. I think the jersey swaps are cool. It is game recognizing game. And if I looked at that appropriately, so like it seemed like Giannis went to LaMelo to give him some props, and then maybe LaMelo instigated the jersey swap. Like, ask him. It seemed like Giannis was giving approval. Yeah, no, that's fine. We can swap the jerseys. I think that's awesome. And especially, I kind of like, I'm known as a little bit of a hoarder. I don't like getting rid of all that cool stuff, even if it just sits on the shelf forever. I like having those types of things, and so I feel like if I was talented enough to be in the NBA where anybody wanted to swap jerseys with me, very far-fetched dream, but if that was the case, I'd be a jersey swapper. I think that's what I would be.
You'd be a swapper. I like it. I think sometimes it can be corny, but I thought in this instance, because of what happened, LaMelo hitting the 3 to tie the game, Giannis knocking down the 2-pointer. And by the way, we haven't even mentioned Miles, heaved it up, almost went in. Could have been a completely different narrative. Could have been a completely different story. That's how the NBA goes. But I thought it was cool. And, we've heard a lot of NBA players, big-time NBA players, comment on LaMelo's confidence, comment on his abilities out on the floor to impact games. And so this is just another example of a huge superstar recognizing, hey, this kid's got it. I don't think there's any question at this point.
No,
I think he's got a lot to do to get to like superstar legendary status. You actually have to do things, but I think there's no question he's a star right now.
No, there's zero question. If we want to talk about just basketball stuff to get him to that next level, got to finish better at the rim. I mean, once you do that, I don't know what else is a huge weakness besides just kind of tuning things up on defense. As he will get better at that as the years go on. Maybe limiting more turnovers, but he's always going to be a risky passer, and that's what makes him so fun. Yeah, I mean, it's all about finishing inside the perimeter at a better rate. All right, I want to talk about that Miles Bridges heave, too. Let's do that in the next segment in just a moment. Do want to discuss Shopify with you, though, first. In case you don't know, Shopify is a complete commerce platform that lets you start, grow, and manage a business. The subscription-based software allows anyone to set up an online store and sell their products. Shopify store owners can also sell in physical locations using Shopify POS, our point-of-sale app, and accompanying hardware. Shopify gives entrepreneurs the resources once reserved for big business, so upstarts, startups, and established businesses alike can sell everywhere, synchronize online and in-person sales, and effortlessly stay informed. I love Shopify. It's got all the tools and resources that make it easy for any business to succeed from down the street to around the globe. Shopify powers over 1.7 million businesses from first sale to full scale. Go to shopify.com/LockedOnNBA, all lowercase, for a free 14-day trial and get full access to Shopify's entire suite of features. Grow your business with Shopify today. Go to shopify.com/LockedOnNBA right now. That's shopify.com/LockedOnNBA. Also want to discuss Truebill before we go to the next segment. Do you know why free trials renew without your consent? It's a business scam out to get you. So don't let greedy corporations pocket your money. Download Truebill instead to take control of your subscriptions. Truebill is the new app that helps you identify and stop paying for those subscriptions you don't need, want, or just simply forgot about. On average, people save up to $720 a year with Truebill. And your Truebill concierge is always there when you need them to cancel unwanted subscriptions, so you don't have to. Truebill has over 2 million users, and they've helped save them over $100 million. Don't fall for subscription scams anymore. Start canceling today at Truebill.com/LockedOnNBA. Go right now, Truebill.com/LockedOnNBA. It could save you thousands a year. Truebill.com/LockedOnNBA. Let's take another look at the Milwaukee Bucks game last night, some of the other things that we noticed. We'll talk about that coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
This is Locked On Hornets.
We've been trying to decipher what the Thanksgiving sixth dish of the year is. Like, is there a dish at Thanksgiving that you think is the sixth dish of the year coming off of the bench and giving you big-time minutes, helping you win games?
Wow. Well, see, I've been kind of screwed by my selection of a wife. I always love sweet potatoes.
Elaborate, Eric. Hurry, elaborate.
Yeah, please elaborate.
It's time for more of the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Perhaps the best call of Eric Collins' life is elaborating on what he meant by that initial comment to that answer.
It's an important one, for sure.
It's an extremely important one. I wanted to address the Miles Bridges heave real quickly. Doug, I don't know if you saw this too, if you paid attention to anything else happening around the sports world. Tons of last-second heaves almost went in, and none of them did. There were so many. If you go to the college basketball ranks where NC State, Nebraska, they go to 4 overtimes. There was a heave at one of the overtimes, maybe regulation, bounces right in and out. And then you have Miles Bridges contributing to that. I think there was an NBA game, too. Maybe it was the Pacers, if I'm not mistaken. I think that went down to the wire with the Hawks. Malcolm Brogdon, I think, had a shot to where it almost tied it up. There were so many almost heaves that went in, and Miles Bridges contributed. Unfortunately, though, we don't have any of them going in from last night, but pretty crazy. Never seen anything like it.
Rim gremlins. It's those damn rim gremlins, the Rimlins.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's like a small part of you, there might be a small part of me that's that's wondering, like, if the Miles Bridges heave does go in, are we talking as much about LaMelo Ball today? Like, we're talking a little bit more about the heave and about the win. I don't know.
Yeah, I think we are. I still think like LaMelo carries that much weight to where we're still. I mean, is it the lead though? We probably are talking about Miles as the lead more so than LaMelo, but we're still giving LaMelo his due.
Walker, I thought the story of this game, by the end of the first half, I thought the story of this game, if they were going to win it, was going to be Miles getting his groove back from three. I mean, he was 2 of 3 to start the game. Knocked down at the first one, looked confident. He finished, it's so strange. He finished the game 9 of 18 from the field, but only 3 of 11 from three, 22 points, 9 rebounds, 2 blocks. I mean, a great game by all accounts, but that 3-point shot is still nowhere near where it was late in the season last year or early this season.
Yeah, it's not. And remember, we were kind of discussing how the step back three for Miles was a real thing, and it's not completely out of his arsenal. It's just not going in at the rate we used to see it. So now we want him to continue to shoot better, find a way to get back to what he was doing at the beginning. But also, you kind of want to pair that with the aggressiveness that he's shown. 9 of 18 from the field, and so you're talking a lot of those shots coming from inside and finishing at a way better clip. Got a couple of Giannis yams, by the way. How about the alley-oop on Giannis? Excellent. It didn't even seem like he rose that much. We've seen him jump way higher. It was just one of the more thunderous slams that we've seen from him. And then there was the other alley-oop in transition where Giannis, because his motor is 110% all the time, goes from not being dunked on at all to almost wanting to get dunked on when it was already over, and Miles going to slam it off of the LaMelo oop. So Miles Bridges coming up with a couple of big-time fun dunks yesterday.
Well, call Miles Bridges sweet potato casserole because Giannis kept going back for leftovers. It was crazy. It was like, Giannis, what are you doing? Like, you don't have to do that. Stop it. Don't do it.
Don't be a
Miles,
hero,
dunking on his
say.
head. But that's a weird thing. So he's aggressive at the rim, and that's what the Hornets need, honestly. They don't have a lot of great rim finishers, and Miles has been great at that. To be the sort of 30-point star player that we all were like, whoa, at the beginning of the season that we thought he was suddenly becoming, you do have to have that 3-point shot going down. And so now he has sort of settled into the role that I think a lot of us thought he would be at the beginning of the season, which wasn't that star level, but more, that complimentary second piece on a great night, third piece typically, and doing different things. But it's good to see him, settle into that role and not, 8 attempts and, under double-digit points. So
real quickly, rapid-fire base, but only one question. If Miles finishes with a midseason stat line of 46 from the field, 46% from the field, 20 points a game, but 33% from three, is that all-star level?
That's tough. Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to look at
my point being, that's where I kind of think it's going to end up. Maybe the 3-point shot gets up to like 35 these, and I'm not saying he's going to finish that low, but I don't know where. If I hope the 3-point shot continues, and it certainly can. I just think we could be in line with that kind of stat line, and I think the All-Star conversation, it's already died down a little bit.
Yeah, well,
because that was a good game from Miles. That's a good game from Miles Bridges. Just missed a lot of 3-pointers.
Well, the problem with the All-Star conversation is the conversation really needs to start in the previous season. And if it doesn't start in the previous season, then you really have to come out blazing hot like he did and sustain it to where you're part of the conversation night in and night out. So LaMelo is going to become an All-Star because he was part of that conversation last season, and now has continued that into this season. So there was no problem there. But I think, it's going to be difficult at this point for Miles.
I agree. All right, let's talk about a guy that's always been a fringe All-Star. I believe has only made it one time, though. That's Gordon Hayward. Let's also discuss where this game was lost, Doug. A lot of people had a problem with that long two from Gordon Hayward that did not go in. Milwaukee corrals the rebound, and eventually, of course, they would win the game, even if LaMelo tried to stop the bad thing that happened with that long two by hitting that three going to his left, shooting towards his right. Bad shot. Nobody likes the long two. You especially don't like that possession at that point in the game. Here's what I want to point out. It's the fact that Gordon actually hit a long two earlier in the fourth quarter. So at the 9:50 mark, I think like semi-transition, Gordon Hayward pulls up with his foot on the line. It was actually a little bit more of a heartbreaking long two instead of it being more close, like mid-range for Gordon.
No, Eric called it the longest two.
Yeah, right. And so Gordon hit that shot to put him up 102-101. And you think maybe, is that something Gordon just got comfortable with and decided to let it fly? How much of it was drawn up? How much should Gordon have moved it to a different spot on the floor or just shot a different? What do you think of that play, even with the context or even if it matters, him having hit that shot earlier in the game?
So look, here's the thing. So Gordon Hayward, we know he can hit long twos. We know that he can hit the pull-up jump shot. It was open. It was slightly contested, but not enough.
Yeah,
not enough of a contest to think like, oh, that's a terrible look. But at the same time, to me, and I've defended Gordon Hayward and his contract number because I think those are the kind of bailout, no other option kind of shots that you want Gordon Hayward to take in a playoff situation when everybody else is locked down or everyone else has had a terrible shooting game. But in that situation, I just thought, weren't there better options at that point? That didn't feel like a bailout. I can't speak to whether, because nobody asked about it after the game, I can't speak to whether it was drawn up that way for Gordon, but it looked like a clear out. I mean, everybody cleared out for Gordon, and none of the other players, you saw Terry flare out, but he wasn't really looking for the ball. It was kind of just a little decoy, flare out. There really wasn't any other action going on. I think ideally you want Gordon to drive that and try to get fouled, but he pulled up because he saw he had it open and missed it. I didn't love it.
So they did something similar against Indiana, except Gordon Hayward took it to the basket in the season debut. So I was there. I actually did ask Gordon after the game, what was that last play drawn up like? And he said, look, it was my look the whole way. He said he got a good one, missed the layup, and of course that's where P.J. Washington collects the rebound, hits the second chance, or actually gets fouled, then hits the free throws to win it, and they win on opening night. But that's something they've gone to before. Clear out for Gordon Hayward at the end of the game, and Gordon decided to for that jumper, maybe rather than just going to the rim, maybe trying to figure out if there was another person to pass to, and then instead with about seven. So, and here's a sequence real quickly. What killed him, missed long two from Gordon, ensuing foul on Giannis off the second chance basket. So Boogie, I believe, misses a three, and then Giannis collects the rebound, puts it back up, gets fouled too. Like, that is a monstrous sequence where all that happens. And at the 9:50 mark, by the way, excuse me, not the long two at the end of the game. I'm sorry. It was at the 9:50 mark where you have that big at that big time swing. I think that's what happened. The ensuing foul, Giannis off the second chance basket. I might be getting my timeline mixed up. But all of that happening, just a few too many mistakes in the fourth quarter that allowed Milwaukee to come back. But that's a play that they've gone to before, Doug.
Well, and I wonder if it's a play they'll continue to go to. I mean, if it's 0 for 2 now, if it's not working and you've got Melo knocking down threes, falling out of bounds, getting contact. I mean, maybe maybe the coaching staff starts to shift the end of game situations more towards LaMelo. We know they're going to go to Terry every now and then, and that's a good thing. But maybe less away from Gordon. I don't know.
We'll see. We'll see what happens with Gordon Hayward. I want to kind of talk about Kelly Oubre, who did a nice job scoring off of the bench, and he's been doing a good job scoring here lately. Let's get to that in just a moment. Do want to discuss BetOnline first because they've got you covered all season. More props, odds, and lines than ever before as the football season continues its march to the playoffs. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the sports action this year, so you can head to the new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use the promo code LOCKEDON to receive your bonus from basketball, football, NHL, boxing, and UFC right to your favorite Vegas casino games. You don't have to wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and the easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. Let's put the finishing touches on this episode concerning that Milwaukee game coming up next on Locked On Hornets.
This is Locked On Hornets.
My fourth cousin twice removed is Gary Busey, who is considered one of the greatest American actors of all time. So
are we doing this? I've got one to contribute.
I was completely a lie. But
man, I fell for it. I really thought he's just such a random name to bring up. I thought Gary Busey was going to be it.
It's time for more of the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Let's take a look at the bench last night. Jalen McDaniels, Kelly Oubre, another 7-man rotation for James Borrego. We saw some early-ish minutes, only 3 attributed to him. Nick Richards got in the game.
Had a good, by the way, got to give it up to Ish real quick. Had a good defensive play, good, close out. I mean, very brief minutes for Ish, but he did something.
That's all you can do with just 3 minutes, and it's more than Nick Richards got. Ish Smith got 3 minutes last night, and it's not the least amount of run anybody got on this team.
Hold on, pause. Let's think about this, okay? You're playing a game against Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Sure.
You don't have your starting center, Mason Plumlee. You don't have your best defensive player, Cody Martin, either. And you play Nick Richards for 1 minute. I don't know what that means, but it means something.
Look, and I'm not knocking Nick Richards because of it, because it is a guy like Nick. And remember, James Borrego kind of defended Nick after that Chicago game, saying, man, he's a young pup out there looking at Nikola Vucevic for the first time. So that's Nick Richards.
All about puppies. Sometimes sometimes they're in the other room wetting the floor while you're trying to do a podcast.
Yeah. Good. I've heard the jangling all over the place. Like he's, it's when they're not. It's when you continue to hear all of the collar all across the house, and you just have no clue where they are, and they're doing something bad because they're not with you at that point. So that's the time to create all this kind of mischief.
Yeah.
That's what's happening.
That's Nick Richards in a nutshell.
All right, enough puppy talk. Fair enough. Let's go to Kelly Oubre's contribution off the bench. Man, 9 of 14 from the field for him, 5 threes, Doug.
Stangin'. Hashtag stangin'.
25 points. We were discussing, and Julian Council made this joke when he did appear on with us. I guess you should go check him out on Locked On Panthers, even though he ditched us today. Either way, we talked about him being Tsunami Papi because tsunamis don't appear all that often. Doug, 21, 27, 23, 18, 25. Those are the last 5 total point outcomes for one Kelly Oubre off of the bench. Should he be like a thunderstorm, Kelly Oubre? Like what kind of what kind of precipitation, what kind of natural disaster are we discussing with Kelly Oubre right now?
No, I think he's still a tsunami. They're just happening more often, so we can just we can blame it on climate change at this point. We're just seeing more tsunamis more often. Kelly's confident right now. He's confident in his shot. I thought, it's weird, man. There's some games where I'm like, what is he doing defensively? I have no idea what he's doing out there.
Yeah.
There are other games where he's just super engaged. And there are a few players on the Hornets like that. I think they've got a subset of players who are just always engaged on defense. That's maybe 2 or 3 guys. And then the rest are just variable night to night. And I think that's where you get a game like this against Milwaukee versus what you had against Chicago versus what you had against Houston. You have to have all 7 guys locked in defensively because of the deficiencies you have at the center position. But I love what I saw out of Kelly this game. He's driving well. He's knocking down shots. Look, the Hornets are going to live and die on whether Kelly and LaMelo and Terry and PJ can all hit 3-point shots. I mean, that's gonna be. Do they have enough offense? Look down the line at those players and see how many 3-point shots they hit.
You talk about the Hornets being just physical all around more so in this game. I thought Kelly was a great example of that. I mean, he was really hyped. I enjoyed watching Kelly play basketball last night, certainly on the offensive end. To your point on the defensive side, it's just when there seems to be a missed communication or a missed switch, anytime you watch who the other defender is, I always feel like it's Kelly. And it happened last night on an inbounds pass where you had the oop to Pat Connaughton, where I think what happened, Jalen and Kelly got lost on the exchange there. And so it's Jalen McDaniels who starts on Connaughton. Connaughton slips towards the basket, and he thinks Kelly's going to pick him up, but Kelly goes to the 3-point line, and Pat Connaughton's just wide open. Again, it was just right there on the inbounds play, and there's an easy bucket. And I feel like that's happened. I talked about that game against Boston. That was really close when the Hornets were off to that undefeated start. I think the Celtics were their first loss of the season, and you saw them play the Celtics really well, but there were a couple times down the stretch where Kelly Oubre got lost in what Miles thought was maybe a switch opportunity, what maybe like an Ish Smith when he was playing then. Something like that happened. And I feel like that's what you're seeing from Kelly. With that being said, if you're going to hit as many shots as you have been, that's how you help this basketball team, and he's been helping off of the bench here recently.
Yeah, no, he's helping more than he's hurting right now. And generally, like I've been looking at his trend line on cleaningtheglass.com, and his effective field goal percentage right now way above the position average, his game score way above the position average, his 3-point percentage above, has been above the position average since the beginning of November. So it's not just the past couple of games. I mean, he's been a consistent producer. And if you look at the on-off stats too, the Hornets better offensively by nearly 1.5 points when he's on the floor. So it's real. I mean, Kelly Oubre's contributions this season have been real, and they've been more consistent. One crazy stat that I was going to point to had the Hornets. It looked like the Hornets were going to cruise to this one, until the third quarter happened and shots stopped falling for the Hornets. But the Hornets had 9 blocks in this game to the Milwaukee Bucks 1, which is just crazy when you consider the roster and the size differences that were out there. And you consider that Milwaukee, signing Boogie and playing him in this game, trying to cheat code the Hornets.
Got some decent Boogie minutes, or like he made some decent moves. There are a couple
he
things.
He didn't play in a while. He's fresh legs.
Yeah, that's right. That's what happened. Real quick, I had a Kelly Oubre stat I wanted to get to, so I'm going to share it before we move on.
Give it to me.
5 straight games, Kelly has scored 18 points or more.
Ooh.
Before that, he had scored only 5 games total at 18 or more, and that 5th game was the 37-point output that he had. And then now you're starting to see Kelly contribute a little bit more frequently and consistently. So that was nice to see.
For data.
Yeah, take it.
Take that for data.
Terry Rozier, 3 of 10. Any finishing thoughts here? Terry Rozier, 3 of 10. You got PJ Washington, 3 of 9. We can talk about like the need for a big guy. I saw Nada and David on Twitter talking last night. Like Mitch Kupchak, they're calling for it. It's not like, hey, is this the time that you need to trade for a big guy?
It's malpractice. It's ridiculous. I called it that at the beginning of the year when they went into this season, because I could look at the roster and say, hey, this could be a potential playoff team, if not for the fact that they literally don't have a center rotation, or really even like a big man rotation that is NBA level quality. Mason had played pretty good the last couple of games before I thought so. He had played pretty well the past couple of games before he went onto the injured list. They need him back desperately. They need a center desperately. This is getting ridiculous. The Hornets now, I think, 9th in the Eastern Conference when I checked last night, at 13-11. The East is tough.
Yeah.
Get a center. I mean, what are you doing?
Yeah. It is tough. Now, the one, like, if you look at Milwaukee, it's tough to say this is the game that puts the exclamation point on that request, because Giannis is just going to do anything he wants against everybody. But to your point, like Mason isn't limiting Giannis to 39. Giannis gets 40 last night if Mason's in the game, in my opinion. But if you had somebody else, like maybe a Rashawn Holmes, does he get like 35? And is that the difference in the game? Like, I don't know. At least somebody competent enough to limit him to a 30-point outcome instead of 40, where PJ, nobody else could do anything with him.
Yeah, I mean, do you get one less three-pointer made from Middleton or Allen or Connaughton? Because that's sort of the, you kind of have to live with a 40-piece from Giannis, but, the difference in the game was the fact that shots stopped falling for Charlotte in the third and fourth quarter, and a couple of miscues led to some easy baskets for Milwaukee to allow them back into this game. Hornets lose their 3rd straight. Luckily, they have 4 days off before they face off on Sunday against the Atlanta Hawks, a rematch. I think a really important game for the Hornets.
Very much so.
But I love the effort in this game, and Borrego talked about it after the game. I mean, this was a team that was locked in and just got an excruciating defeat at the hands of one of the GOATs.
And they play pretty well against Trae Young. They defend him well. I always like James Borrego's game plans against a Trae Young. When Giannis is hitting fadeaway jumpers from the short corner, there's just nothing you're going to be able to do to stop him on that night. But you're right, very important. Against a respected team like Atlanta, who gets to the conference finals last year, you have 4 days of rest, even if it is on the road. It's not like it's too far away from Charlotte. Want to avoid that 4-game losing streak. Yeah, this is a big-time game for the Charlotte Hornets upcoming, and they'll be playing that on Sunday, right? Sunday is the time they're going to be playing that crazy amount of rest for what usually happens in the NBA. All right, thanks for making Locked On Hornets your first listen every single day. Tomorrow, it's Fun Friday. David Walker going to be back on the mic, and we're going to be giving you that Hive Life like we do every single week. Now make your second listen Locked On Bets, your daily one-stop shop for all your gambling needs. Locked On Bets, hosted by your boy Q, with expert analysis and insight from Lee Sterling. It's free and available on all platforms. Have a great rest of your day. We'll be back with you tomorrow.